Hey everyone, we want to talk to you about how to add item details, pattern your ribbons, pattern your background, the theme. We just want to make sure that you feel comfortable in adding all of the information. So Mrs. Zobel showed you how to make sure to get in there and get our overlapping ribbons drawn. So when you first start out on a project, you're going to have to draw the items first. We want the items drawn first. And you can see here, I've got the ribbon project, and then I've got some items. And I want you to notice they're just really simple circles. That's not really an effective item. First off, the circles are getting lost. Like, is something a circle or is something a ribbon? What's it a part of? It looks a lot like this hole in the ribbon, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'm a little confused. Your item should really have details to it. You might start with a basic shape, but then you're going to add more details. As we look at different examples, here's this one, the shamrock. But notice, to begin with, the shamrocks were drawn, and then detail was added into the shamrocks, and then even more detail added into the coloring. So they drew the shamrocks, then we drew the ribbons, then we patterned the actual item, then we patterned the actual ribbons, then we did the background. You see the process? And notice the theme here. This is kind of like St. Patrick's Day. We've got these 4-leaf clovers. Notice the coloring's all kind of nice and together. We've got some complementary colors with these reds and greens, but we've got a lot of green and blue, yellow, things that make us think of like a theme. This yellow, right? Those all even are in a color theme, right? Like our color schemes, like warm and cool colors, those are actual themes within color. But you can see here this theme is all very put together. We've got varying sizes, and then we've also added details to our items, right? Looking at another example, here's another one that Mrs. Zobel has started. She hasn't quite finished her football theme one yet, but it's looking really nice. She's taking her time. Notice we started with the football, and then we added ribbons, and then we did the backgrounds. You can see that the football is not just simply a eye shape, right? This is not the football. Mrs. Zobel put a lot more detail in here. Footballs have the threads up here. We've got different coloring, right? But we've actually drawn. Notice the corner of the football is not like a steep point, but rather we can see where it was actually sewn together. So adding that detail into the item is going to be super helpful to help the viewer know what they're looking at. And notice the theme. We've got football. We've got one of the ribbons that has become the yard lines. Just really nice colors. Really nice coloring, really nice patterns. Look at the ribbon patterns. Notice that they're patterned. We haven't simply just left the ribbon open. Like on this case, notice the ribbons are just unpatterned at this point, but this is unfinished. Right, we can see ribbons that have patterns. Remember, a pattern needs to be purposeful and repeated, right? You don't just draw it once and say, yep, that's a pattern. That's not a pattern. A pattern is something that you repeat multiple times. So you can see here we've got lots of patterns going on, lots of nice stuff. Some of our ribbon patterns, right, we can see this moving all the way through. Some of this looks like it almost repeats, right? Because it's here, and then here, and then here. Really nice patterns going on. Purposeful and repeated, right? Now, as we also look at the backgrounds, we have to think of patterns. Our backgrounds, we don't want to have a different pattern on every single background. That would get really confusing. If every single tiny space, imagine right here that this was a different background than that, and that was a different background than this, and this was a different background than this, and this was a different background than this, and this was a different background than this. And you see how that would get really confusing. We also don't want too simple. We don't want to have just large lines running through a background, because that's not as interesting. That's not as much to look at. This way you have your eyes moving through. We know we have this background over here, and it's over here, and things kind of repeat, right? Let's look at one more example. Here's an example I've done of the ribbon project. Notice the ribbons are patterned. We've given the ribbons a different shape. The items with the stuff in it that are detailed. But let's really look at the background pattern at this point. Notice that I've repeated my background pattern in multiple spaces. Sometimes we don't need to come up with 15, 16 different patterns. Right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have 5 different backgrounds, and then I've repeated those. Notice that the backgrounds don't touch each other, right? This background with the leaves, and this one with the leaves, and this one with the leaves are all separated. This one with this one, they're nice and separated here and here. This just gives it so our eye moves through the piece. You can see that we're here, and then we look, oh, that's the same. And then our eye moves up to here because it recognizes the same. Then we follow the ribbon, and we see this pattern right here kind of repeated. Oh, and we notice it right there as well, right? It brings us into this intricate pattern, over to this one. So it makes your eye move through the piece better if you've repeated your patterns. So you don't need a new pattern for each section. We just want to make sure we avoid putting patterns right next to each other. We don't want leaf pattern, leaf pattern, leaf pattern. That makes it so we kind of stay lost in that section. We want to be able to move through our piece. So you can see theme is an important thing as well. This is based on the Aztecs, so I've got some different Aztec designs. I've got the leaves of what you might see down in that area at that time. I've got the sun with its nice rays, and notice they're different. So we're going lighter to darker. We've got gold and silver and bronze, just different colored of precious metals right there, which is something they're also known for. So you want to be able to take theme and make that into your piece, right? You're trying to make sure that theme and the backgrounds and the patterns and the items, you want it all to come together into one nice cohesive piece. There's a lot going on in these pieces. But that's okay, because we have a lot going on, but because of theme, because of the way we've colored it and thought about it, it looks like one cohesive, nice piece.